From down 20 points in the first quarter, missing Steph Curry, not able to hit a shot, and the Warriors end up running away with this one. It starts with the defense, and then it helps to have a little bit of shooting. Water is wet, and Buddy can stroke on today's Locked On Dubs.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is the good word, everyone? A winning Warriors edition as Golden State takes down the New Orleans Pelicans 124-106 at Chase Center. Golden State improves to 3-1 on the season. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So choose wisely. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We're free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts if you're not catching us live on YouTube. And if you check us out in the mornings and you're on YouTube after a game, we do go live when the horn sounds for just about every single one of these. My co-host for today, it's Matt Kolsky. Myself, Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. That's where I worked with Kolsky. You can hear Kolsky right now doing some Warriors talk on KNBR. I also covered the team for CBS News Bay Area, which is KPIX, and saw the Warriors win plenty of games without Stephen Curry. It was typically the Jordan Poole show in those games. They did have Klay Thompson for many, but Jordan Poole would go up for 35. So I'm thinking, how are the Golden State Warriors going to win with not only missing Steph Curry, but also Andrew Wiggins, who I said on the last show needs to be the second scorer, and then forget just Andrew Wiggins, you also are missing DeAnthony Melton. So that's three guys that are, either starters or borderline starters throughout this season, not even playing in the game today. And this is one of those games where I hope you did not send the tweet too early, because if you did, you look like a complete jackass right now. I saw it all over Twitter, X. The Warriors just, they can't get it done without Steph Curry. They don't have the scoring. What they do have is defense. Steve Kerr said that's going to be this team's strength, especially early on while they're incorporating Terry Stotts' offense, and the players that they picked up in the offseason are kind of learning their transition into their power, into their roles. Looked that way for a half, I guess for a quarter, but then things changed, and it started with Lindy Waters, and that's where we begin the show, because I'd been asking for a little Lindy Waters sighting, especially in the last game when Buddy Hield wasn't doing anything. They go with Lindy Waters. He sparks the team. Hield gets going, and it was a thing of beauty. 21 three-pointers for the Warriors. Let's start with Waters. What did you learn about Golden State's 12th man, 13th man on this roster?
It's an interesting question because I don't think he did anything. Well, there was that dunk. I learned he can dunk on a guy given the opportunity because I did not know he could do that. Otherwise, this was just the stuff we've seen from Lindy Waters cranked up to 11, right? I mean, we know he can shoot the ball, but coming out and lighting it up in an NBA game for 31 minutes and defense too. Lindy Waters was a part. Look, Waters, Hield, and pick your poison, Kuminga or Podziemski, or Moody for that matter, any of those three, outscored the combination of Zion and Ingram, which is all that the Pelicans had going tonight. Nothing else was working for them. It was those guys in one-on-one situations, basically. But the defense was as big as anything tonight. It's not shooting percentage because the Pelicans actually shot it well, almost as well as the Warriors, depending on how you look at it. 23 Pelicans turnovers, and here's what's more important. There are 23 turnover nights. We see them with the Warriors sometimes where the team is kicking the ball all over the place. 15 of those 23 turnovers were Warrior steals. This was all over you, intense defense. Even in the first quarter, to an extent, when it didn't go well, the effort was there. right? And in the second quarter, all of a sudden, they were handsy. They were diving on the floor. The effort level on defense.
Get on the floor. Yeah, dude.
It was awesome. It was
Impressive.
awesome to watch. And once they started moving the ball well, the offense started going too. And we've said it. They got guys who can shoot. Lindy Waters and Buddy Hield were those guys tonight. But don't underrate what Moses Moody did defensively as well. Don't underrate Jonathan Kuminga's effort on defense tonight. I thought it was on point. And in the second half, when he got comfortable, you could see the ways he provides value to this team, especially when Wiggins is not available. So, man, there's not a lot to complain about tonight.
No, Warriors turned it over 7 times. You talk about how many times
So
they turned
good.
over the Pelicans, 23. They take care of the basketball today, turning it over 7 times in the game. Brandon Pajemski, 19 points on 8 of 18 shooting, hits 3 3-pointers, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. But the big number, a giant goose egg, 0 turnovers. They needed that from their starting point guard today, and he really set the tone.
Waters, too. 31 minutes, no turnovers.
That's impressive, man.
Yep.
Lindy Waters was great. He is going to earn himself some minutes if he continues to play like this. But this was just a tale of 1 quarter as compared to 3. First quarter, the Pelicans were kicking the Warriors' ass. It wasn't even close. Warriors finished with 14 points in the first quarter. On 5 of 22 shooting, they hit 2 of their 12 3-pointers. They finished the quarter on nearly a 5-minute drought, and it's now back-to-back games that after some really sluggish moments, they fought hard. The difference is they didn't just get back into the game. They hit 13 of their next 18 threes to just run away with it, and it was Buddy Hield that stole the show. 3 points in the first half. And I'm thinking, here's the good news about Buddy Hield. When you know it's not his night, you can sit him on the pine, you can put in Lindy Waters, and he can get some of those minutes. Here's the issue. Lindy Waters, as you mentioned, played 31 minutes. So at some point, he had to get a breather. He goes to the bench to get a breather. Buddy Hield says, I'm good to go, coach. Put me in. And he goes in and fires up 7 threes. He hit 7 threes in this game. Just an assassin. I'm so impressed by Buddy Hield. Sure, he did not have a good outing, his last one, but he can get buckets in a hurry. And more important than that, the guy hustles. Have you noticed? I mean, he is hard at all times.
Yeah, he's playing hard. Look, he is what he is on defense, but he's playing hard. He's not, terrible. And, I tweeted, like, that level of heat that he can achieve is, I don't know how many people other than Steph and Clay I've seen do that. He's not that player. He's not Steph or Clay. But in terms of just that absolute fire level of draining threes where you're shooting from the logo and it seems like no matter what you do, it's going to go in. It's wild. It's so much fun to watch. And yeah, man, like we said, was it yesterday? God, time moves slow. There's an opportunity here, right? I mean, yes, you need Steph Curry, obviously, in the long term. But in the short term, you still don't have a really elite opponent until you go to Boston, which is a few games away. And there's opportunity for guys to show what they can do. And almost every button Steve Kerr pressed tonight worked. I've been among the many critics of Steve Kerr. I'm not one of the idiots that says he should be fired, but I've certainly had my nits to pick. And tonight, it really worked. It really worked tonight.
It was the definition of pick your poison. We're discussing that. Just spurts from everyone, literally up and down the roster, minus maybe Kyle Anderson, who went 0 of 9 and 0 of 6 from 3. They were daring him to shoot that 3. They said, we'll give you the corner, Kyle. Let it fly.
But 4 steals, 4 assists.
Silver lining, baby.
That stuff matters.
Silver lining playbook. We love it. We're talking about the pick your poison mentality from Golden State, from basically the B team tonight. And the B team looked like an A team, much better than the New Orleans Pelicans. Sorry about it. We'll talk about it coming up. Locked On Warriors, everyone. All right, so I'm going to need you to download the Gametime app right now and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but here's the good news about the Gametime app. One, it's entirely free. We love that. Two, the closer you get to your event, the cheaper the tickets get. So if you're one of those people that does not buy your tickets 2 weeks in advance, you wait until game day, you're a box office kind of guy, forget the box office. You got the Gametime app. You can get panoramic views from your seats, making sure that there's no surprises when you get to those seats. Also, the lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It is Gametime. Pick your poison. I don't even want to look at the statistics right now. In fact, we're going to do the case study that we did the other day, and we're going to look at minutes instead of points. And it's Draymond 29, it's Jackson Davis 17, it's Hield 29, it's Moody 17, it's Pajemski 34, it's Kuminga 28, it's Looney 20, it's Lindy Waters 31, it's 20 for Kyle Anderson, 8 for Gary Payton, just spreading the wealth. And not only that for the Warriors today, but it came in spurts. It wasn't like everyone was playing well at the same time. Like Pajemski got him started early, then had a little flurry in the third quarter, I believe, where he went from 9 to 19 in a hurry. He finishes with 19 points. Moses Moody had some moments in the first half where he knocked down some big buckets to bring the Warriors right back into the game. We mentioned what Buddy Hield did. Just a stretch in the second half where he was unconscious, hitting 7 of 11 three-pointers. Kuminga, after, I wouldn't call it a slow start, but he didn't do anything, crazy out of the gate, picks it up late for 17 points on 6 of 13 shooting, hit a big three late in the game that the Warriors really needed. Lindy Waters, the 21, as we mentioned. Looney had a stretch where he was grabbing boards left and right, had 9 of them in the game, 5 of them offensive. That's big for Golden State, who had 11 offensive boards in the game. And then Gary Payton even had a stretch where he was getting out in transition, poking the ball away and scoring 7 points in his 8 minutes. So it was really like, who are you going to stop tonight, Pelicans? Pelicans had the 2 best players on the floor. Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, in my opinion, were probably better than anyone on the Warriors overall. I mean, the shooting obviously edged Golden State. They were giving Zion Williamson 7 feet. But Zion Williamson was pretty unstoppable for the Pelicans. I'd love to see him. That's my golden goose. I'd love to see him in a Warriors uniform somehow, some way. Wow. 31 points, 12 of 20, 8 rebounds. He was unstoppable. Did turn it over 8 times. But when it comes to the numbers, I mean, the Pelicans didn't have another player in double figures aside from those 2. It was 5, it was 5, it was 3, it was 6. I mean, strength in numbers against a team of top-heavy talent.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for the Pelicans, 2 of their 4 members of top-heavy talent were missing. So, it wasn't the top 2 like the Warriors, but the next 2, DeJounte Murray and Trey Murphy, who, they really could have used in a game like this. But McCollum never got going. And look, this was a game where Zion Williamson, when healthy, is a beast for anybody to guard. And Brandon Ingram is pretty tough for a Warriors team, especially when they start an undersized lineup rather than the oversized one they've been going with in the first 3 games. So not shocking that those guys went off, but it was excellent team defense that kept anyone else from going anywhere. And that's what it's going to take every single night that Steph Curry's not available. If you don't play elite defense in some way, and like I said, it wasn't shot-stopping defense. I mean, 54 from the field, 41 from 3 for the Pelicans from a shooting percentage standpoint. That's great. But they just forced so many turnovers, and they were forced turnovers by the Warriors. Their defense is what made that happen.
Yeah, I just remember a specific moment where the double team came. I think it was Looney and Payton, right? A double near the half-court line, and Payton gets the breakaway. Then I think they had another one right there. I mean, there was just a stretch.
There was a stretch where Kuminga had like the block leading to the I think it was layup on the other end, and then a dunk on the next possession. Like, you're right. Everybody had their little portion of the game where they were making wow plays tonight. And again, that's what it's going to take. A little bit from everybody on offense and an incredibly connected and intense defensive performance. And tonight they got that. And ultimately they beat the Pelicans pretty handily. It's not as easy if the team is better that they're playing against, but this was awesome tonight. You could not have asked for a better performance from a Warriors team missing both Curry and Wiggins.
No, they destroyed them. Defense changed the game. Everyone had a moment. Lindy Waters comes in, and the rest is history. The act of hands, excellent, and the 25 points in the second half from Hield was what they needed. But in the first quarter, when the Warriors were down 20 points, and it just looked like they could not get anything going offensively, and they're on pace to scoring, 56 points? Like a early 90s basketball game with 56 points on pace. Tell me this, chat, and tell me this, Kolsky. Were you nervous a little bit? Were you nervous watching that first quarter of basketball where the Warriors went 5 of 22 from the floor and scored 14 points? I would imagine the answer is slightly.
Yeah, I would say more disappointed than nervous, right? I mean, it's just, this is not unique. This is a brand new starting lineup, and they stunk it up just as much as the original starting lineup stunk it up over the first 3 games. This is a problem. That is something they're going to have to figure out, how to make sure the game begins with the same energy that they're closing it with. In the long term, that's a problem. Tonight, it was, they overcame it, obviously, but yeah, it's more of a long-term concern to me than it was like, oh God, they're going to score 56 points.
What the Warriors did tonight, man, I'm just so impressed. I have 21 three-pointers missing Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, and D'Anthony Melton. This team is so deep, man.
Well, I mean, it's 110. They beat the Pelicans with 3 quarters worth of scoring here. Okay. So like it was lit. It was lit.
124 in quarters. Yeah. So 110 points in 3 quarters. Let's do here. That's 30, 60, 90. That's
33 and a third per 36 and a third. I'm sorry.
36.3 points per quarter. After
0.7. I blew it twice. 36.7 points per quarter. Yeah, pretty good.
That's all right. That's why you're our ankle specialist, our sprained ankle specialist.
I am an ankle specialist. I am supposed to be good at math, though. I resent my own failure there.
Yeah, you got closer than me. I was going with the 30 there. Anyways, let's continue to talk about this game. Warriors winners by 18. They run it back tomorrow against the New Orleans Pelicans. What are you looking forward to in tomorrow's game? Should we just run back the same exact formula, except maybe getting started a little bit sooner? And yes, who starts? Kuminga came off the bench as the 6th man today. Is that the case in tomorrow's game? And what was Steve Kerr's thinking in that decision? Yo, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Warriors Daily newsletter. If you'd like to get Warriors news daily, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, it's delivered right to your inbox. Just sign up right now. It is free at LockedOnDaily.com. That is LockedOnDaily.com. You can start your day with the all-new free Locked On Warriors newsletter. So Golden State, winners, man. They run it back with the Pelicans again tomorrow. Starting lineup today. What were your thoughts on that with Kuminga coming off the bench and Moses Moody apparently being a starter? Kuminga's a starter through the first 3 games of the season with Andrew Wiggins, D'Anthony Melton, Steph Curry. Then those 3 disappear, and all of a sudden Kuminga's relegated to the bench. What was your thoughts on that? Why do you think Steve Kerr did it?
Man, I can't get in Steve Kerr's head on that. I really can't. I will say this. I've been saying that I don't think Kuminga has been put in the best positions to succeed in terms of lineup combinations. He was in much better positions tonight in terms of lineup combinations. So I guess if bringing him off the bench is the way to do that. Now, I would make the argument that was available in the starting lineup given the scenario, right? I mean, Andrew Wiggins, playing next to Andrew Wiggins is the chief issue for Kuminga, I think, in the normal starting lineup. I think playing next to Buddy Hield, who's a knockdown three-point shooter, as opposed to Andrew Wiggins, who's more of a driver and slasher, would benefit Kuminga's game. Honestly, though, like, it's hard to have any complaints with how it all worked tonight. If bringing Kuminga off the bench puts him in better lineup combinations and leads to this sort of night from him, then Steve Kerr's a genius. What do I know? I think you are, after tonight, it would be very surprising to see Kuminga in the starting lineup tomorrow. But again, it was surprising that he was on the bench tonight to me. So what do I know? I will say the interesting question to me now, because Hield and Moody both ended up playing so well, but they did put Lindy in to start the second half. Would you consider starting Lindy Waters tomorrow, given the way he played?
If this is a meritocracy, we talk about that word a lot, man. If this is a meritocracy, there is nothing that Lindy Waters has shown us in a Golden State Warriors jersey that shows us he can't play. I mean, we're going off biases of what we think we know about Lindy Waters, as an undrafted pick out of Oklahoma State and not really seeing the floor for Oklahoma City after his rookie year. Like that's the biases that are playing into this right now. But based off eye test alone, these things, if you're using your eyeballs, you see a big 6'6" wing that can stroke with the best of them, that was getting in passing lanes, that had a few strips on drives.
8 rebounds today.
8 rebounds. What are we missing? What are we missing?
I mean, he certainly seems like somebody that gives you he's a bigger guy than Hield or Moody, and he is, maybe not a better defender than Moody, but certainly a more impactful rebounder based on what we've seen, and an equal defender, and he's a better defender than Buddy Hield. And I'll add this, especially after, it's been bad with Steph Curry. It was bad tonight without Steph Curry. Like, the first 8 to 10 minutes of basketball for the Warriors this year has stunk, period. If I had to answer, given the lineup changes, what is the thing that has made it stink? I would say they just haven't totally been locked in to start games. They haven't been on their best. They haven't been fired up. I don't want to say fired up. They're professionals, but I do know Lindy Waters would be hyped to get a start. And I do expect that he would bring the sort of energy we saw for 31 minutes tonight from minute 1. And I do wonder whether that would be a big help. I'm so impressed with the guy. And again, it feels sustainable because while he's playing better than anyone thought, and he did more tonight than I expected him to do all season, he is doing it by doing the things we know he's good at, right? Like, it's not like Lindy Waters is a guy who never shot the 3 before, and all of a sudden he's lighting it up from beyond the arc. Like, this is it. He's playing his game, and he's using it to make a significant impact in the NBA. So I don't know. He's certainly playing a lot tomorrow night, but I would definitely look at putting him in the starting lineup because I think he gives you a bigger, more defensive option, certainly than Buddy Hield, but maybe even compared to Moody or Podziemski.
Are we going to come up with a magic number in terms of 3-pointers with Hield and with Steph Curry and with Lindy Waters and with I don't want to throw Podziemski in there. Let's lump those 3 into their own sharpshooting category. Is the number like 21.5? If the Warriors hit over 21.5 threes per game, they're winning 80%. Like, what's the number to you? Because they hit 20. How many they hit tonight?
21. So I'd make it 20.5 maybe.
20. That's the number to where the Warriors aren't losing many games if they hit them. I mean, they're going to take enough threes just about every game to hit that mark. They let 46 fly today. So over or about half their shots today because they took 97 shots on the floor, 46 of them 3-pointers. What's your magic number? Is this a formula for success, man? I mean, even you lose Steph Curry, you lose his gravity. That's the biggest thing. And you still knock down 21 3-pointers. Is this what they're going to be doing all year?
It's what they're going to try to do. I think tonight's a tough game.
I had Devone on, and he called him a freaking carnival act. He said, "Oh, it's a carnival act." It's pretty nice act, brother.
It is, and I don't know how much of the NBA Dan Devone's been watching for the last 5 years, but it's kind of what happens now, And is shooting 45 threes in a game a carnival act? I don't know. If you hit 45% of them, it feels like a pretty good choice.
Pelicans shot 22 compared to the Warriors 46. Just to put it.
But how many times did Kevin Harlan say that Willie Green, the head coach of the Pelicans, told him they'd like to shoot 40? So that's because they're not doing their jobs. And tonight, I think also the turnovers played into that. But as far as the Warriors shooting goes, if the right guys are shooting them, 45 is nothing. I mean, Steph Curry wasn't out there. You figure he's taken 8 minimum. And look, if those come out of Kyle Anderson's shot count, then they'd shoot an even better percent. You know what I mean? I don't know that there's a better strategy. So to think of it as anything other than the best approach to try to win basketball games seems foolish to me.
All right, so let's just recap the game real quick one more time for the people that got in late. Warriors win by 18. They were down by as much as 20. Everyone had their moments. Podziemski went off in the first half, a little bit of the third quarter. Buddy Hield had himself a second half, knocking down 7 3-pointers. Cannot just continue to say how impressed I am because all the guys in the chat, that love Buddy, and they said in the offseason when I said I don't know about the signing, what are we seeing that other teams aren't seeing? They even asked him today, Steve Kerr on the radio, and they're like, why is Buddy Hield kind of a journeyman, a lottery pick to journeyman? And Kerr was just like, look, he was part of a big-time blockbuster trade. It didn't really work out in Philly, but he was good everywhere he's been, aside from really Philly. And it's just working out, man. With the spacing and the movement that this offense plays with, it is just working out in Buddy Hield's favor. And then you had Lindy Waters in, a sharpshooter that we did not know a lot about. We knew that he was a preseason hero, knocked down a game winner in Hawaii against the LA Clippers. A lot of Oklahoma City Thunder fan when the Warriors made the trade to get the pick that was Quentin, or give away the pick, get Lindy Waters, and then get that pick back that ended up being Quentin Post. A lot of Thunder fans commented on the show that we did and said, you watch out for this guy now. Didn't have a lot of opportunities in his NBA, season last year for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but he's good. 6'6", he's long, can defend. I think that's the most underrated part of his game, and he's much more than just a shooter. And he makes good decisions. That's what I noticed about Waters tonight. He doesn't just chuck him up there. He's not a human heat check. He'll make the extra pass. If there's someone closing out on him, he's not going to fire it. He's going to make the open pass to a Brandon Podziemski who knocks down the wide open three.
After the first quarter, that was one of the most encouraging things about this game as a whole was how willing everybody was to make the extra pass. The ball was hopping around. I mean, the number of times somebody attacked the basket, the Pelicans collapsed, and they kicked it out to an open shooter, and then it bounced around to the more open shooter, and someone nailed a three. Like, that was the story of the Warriors taking control of this game. It was steals on defense, and it was ball movement and shooting on offense, and it was beautiful to watch, and everybody, like you said, was involved. Lindy Waters shot the heck out of the ball, but was still ready to move it. Jonathan Kuminga was scoring at the hoop and at the free throw line, still driving and kicking to shooters. Moody, same thing. It was beautiful basketball tonight.
Just a symphony orchestrated by Steve Kerr after a brutal start where the Warriors scored 14 points in the first quarter. Spread in the game, New Orleans -2.5. Vegas keep a bunch of those points. You can have about 20 of them back. Warriors cover the spread. They win by 18. I believe they're now 3-1 against the spread this year. They've covered in all their wins and did not cover in their loss. 18,064 showed up at Chase Center, as I know you were very concerned about the attendance, Kolsky. So the Warriors, during this 4-game stretch, we said the Warriors need to go 3-1. That would be big. 4-0 would be massive. 3-1 would be big, missing Steph Curry and potentially Andrew Wiggins for multiple games. So they got one more against the Pelicans at Chase tomorrow. Then it's a game against the Rockets on Saturday. Then it's up against the Wizards. No reason why the Warriors can't go 4-0 during this stretch, or is that maybe a bit of a stretch? The back-to-backs are tough against the same team.
They are tough. I would be shocked if CJ McCollum, I believe they said he had come into the game with 10 straight back to last year, 20-point performances. Like he'll score tomorrow. I don't know whether Andrew Wiggins or, Trey Murphy on the other side might be available. That would obviously change things. Like it'll look different tomorrow, but I think they have the blueprint. And if Steve Kerr wanted a game to go into film session and say, hey, you know how I'm always talking about moving the ball and the ball having energy and how it starts with defense? Well, take a look at the difference between the first quarter yesterday and the friggin' rest of the game, because it's night and day. And all you did was turn up the defensive intensity and move the basketball around. That's how you win. That's how this team is going to win, especially without Steph Curry. So this is teaching tape for the Warriors, but I expect a better effort overall from the Pelicans tomorrow. So we'll see. As far as the rest of that stretch, the stretch we wanted them to be 3-1, I'd say, look, you have no excuse. You should already be counting on 2-2, because if you lose to the Wizards, that's embarrassing and you have nobody to blame but yourself. I don't see why you can't hope to at least split New Orleans and Houston, but also like both very winnable games. Let's get greedy. 4-0 would be beautiful. If you end up 6-1 going into that first tough stretch of the schedule, you'll feel much better about yourself.
Injury reports big tomorrow. Obviously, Andrew Wiggins being one that we'll see. There hasn't been any official word on Andrew Wiggins playing in tomorrow night's game, so we'll see if that's the case. And then for the Pelicans, Herb Jones, will he play in tomorrow's game?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on, especially if you're making a wager on FanDuel. Question to get to: who do you guys see getting dropped when the rotation shortens from our guy G Bravo? I apologize for the Buddy Hield slander, G Bravo. I apologize.
Well,
I was wrong.
To answer that question, and I think it's a great one, because it might not be till the playoffs, but at some point the rotation is likely to shorten. If it doesn't, it'll be the first time ever that any team has not shortened their rotation. I think you saw tonight how that can, in some ways, work itself out. Listen, hopefully Steph Curry's there, because if he's not, nothing matters. But in the long run, it's going to be based on how guys are playing. Like Kyle Anderson was helpful tonight, but not great. You could easily shorten him out of the rotation. Kevon Looney was helpful tonight, but I don't know. Between the two of them, they played 40 minutes. That could probably be 20 between the two of them, right? It's going to be a tough luck situation for somebody out of that shooter group, whether it's Hield or Waters or I guess Moody in that 2-guard spot. Like, they're going to be tough decisions, or there's going to be a trade that consolidates the rotation a little bit, because 12 and now 13, if you're including Lindy, it is just too many guys, especially when you get to the playoffs, because other teams will play their best for 35 plus minutes a night. And as well as the Warriors' depth has performed against other teams' depth, you don't want them out there for long stretches against the best players in the league.
A lot of this is going to come down to situational basketball, too. You're not going to see Gary Payton on the floor in the fourth quarter if the team's down by 7 with 3 minutes left. That's not going to happen. Probably not going to see Kyle Anderson out there either in that situation. So it's situational based off where the Warriors are at in the game.
And for what it's worth, through 4 games, Steve Kerr has played his roster very situationally.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So the Warriors improved to 3-1. Hey, sweet dreams, everyone. And just remember how electric it gets in San Francisco when Buddy Hield goes on a little bit of a flurry. That was, if I learned anything from today, because that's the first time he did it at Chase Center. We saw it a couple times on the road. We saw it in the preseason, but that's the first regular season game at Chase where we really saw a Buddy Hield moment. Were all 7 of those threes in the second half? 6 of them, right?
I think 6. Yes, he hit one
He had-
in the first half.
He had
but
3 points in the first half. So 6 threes in the second half, and it was all in a span, I felt like late third quarter, fourth quarter. I mean, it was.
I think it was. Yeah, it was like from
Right,
a minute
tear to my eye. Tear to my eye.
a minute left in the third to like 8 minutes in the fourth. He just was absolutely unconscious. And look, Warriors fans know how to get hype for somebody who's unconscious from 3-point range. They're prepared for that situation. I promise
He's
you.
cool as the other side of the pillow too, man. After he hit that like 5th one, because he hit one at the end of the third quarter, right? Didn't he bang one in there at the buzzer? And that's when the place just started rocking. So Buddy Hield, game ball. He gets my game ball tonight. He gets to share it. We'll cut it in half like it's a cake, and it'll deflate. Half of it goes to Lindy Waters. Yay.
8 rebounds. Lindy Waters, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 0 turnovers. I'm giving him the whole thing. Buddy Hield can shoot on a lot of nights. That, to me, and it just felt like the turnaround was catalyzed by Lindy Waters. I loved him tonight.
Lindy Waters changed the game. Buddy Hield put a stake in the Pelican. Locked on Warriors, everyone. Have a great night, Kolsky. Good talking to you. Peace. Thanks for hopping in the chat. Free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. And to the YouTube crowd, on your way out, give it that thumbs up. It's free. We very much appreciate it.
Take that, Pierre.